Middle fingers to the haters. Guess I co-sign one day I'll be the greatest. But first I gotta make it. I'm on my shit. Give me the throne and the crown. Trust me, I will never lay it down. Nah, you don't like me. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. MC and rap till I die. 716, nigga, 365. Middle.
It's time to say what you feel. First and foremost, I'm going to be smiling today. I'm laughing, but that's not how I'm feeling inside, but that's how I deal with things. You know, I usually don't do this on air, but it's one of those days. Sometimes you just got to kick back and relax. First things first, I'm going to let my co-stars, co-guests introduce themselves. I'm going to start off with your normal man, Super Heavyweight. Go ahead. Tell them where you are. Tell them where to find you.
Hey, peoples, what's up? It's Super Heavyweight. You can reach me on Twitter. You follow me, I'll follow you back. And I'm still voting for myself for the elections.
And the other guest star, my brother, sometime.
As the gadfly, you can find me nowhere because I'm going to crawl back under the rock that I came from after this.
And that's just a sample of what y'all gonna get. And I'm gonna introduce myself to the three of us in attendance and the potential millions watching at home. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the greatest debater of all time has come back to your cell phone, back to your TV screen, your laptop, or whatever other electronic device you are connected to right now. And I'm not even going to debate today. You know why I'm not going to debate too much? Because I'm awesome. So, to all the viewers, first things first, I actually had a lighthearted, funny show planned this week. After last week going into those deep things that we went into with my father, I wanted to lighten the mood, but the world won't let me do that. The world won't let me lighten the mood. And the past 3 days is nothing but tragedy after tragedy. It's like a bad dream or a scary movie where everybody dies at the end. It's not cool. So, you know what? I'm gonna do something different. I'm gonna let Gene, go ahead and tell them about the events over the last 3 days from your perspective. I want you to do this.
All right. I don't know, where do I start? I mean, you had basically 2 execution-style killings by law enforcement on people who could have easily been brought to custody, and actually got the due process of law that we're all entitled to. And it's a shame that we have a nation divided when you have a loss of life, a senseless loss of life. And what makes it compounded is the fact that one of these people was actually murdered or executed in front of a kid. I don't know, I'm just kind of at a loss. Every time I think about it and try to bring it back up, I hate the loss of life anywhere. If you know anything about me, you know that I think that, you know, life is life, and I don't care who it is. It's sad when somebody is killed, and par for the course, I'm sure that all these alleged perpetrators will get off through the judicial system. So, you know what? I just don't know. So that's basically what happened. Go ahead.
I would say we can't forget about what happened in tragedy in Dallas yesterday. With the 5 police officers. I'm gonna give my take on that later, but we're gonna go in order of each.
Yeah, that was cowardly.
And we'll talk about these. So first and foremost, I want to talk about the first shooting. That I'm not gonna show the videos because they are too graphic. Some people are disturbed. I was disturbed by them both times I've seen the videos from Mr. Alton, and this man was doing something he's did every day for 2 years in a neighborhood where he's known, and a 911 call that I'm really excited and looking forward to hearing Um, ended up getting him killed at the end of the day. Uh, when you watch the videos, to me, I thought it was excessive force. I thought it was inhuman how a man who's already been tased and has two grown men pinning him down could be at any threat, especially if these cops training are trained for this situation. And I don't see how it was justified in shooting a man who's already pinned down and obviously not reaching for his gun, because after the video you can clearly see the cop grab the gun, which I really need an enhanced video to make sure that's what that was, out of his pocket. Um, like I said, I'm not gonna do too much debating. I want the guest to speak on his thoughts, his views on the whole situation. Was it justified? Was it excessive? And how do you feel? Say how you feel.
You asking me?
Yeah.
Well, I personally think that it was a gun, almost certainly. Uh, Personally, because I saw a video from his friend where the guy was actually defending the perpetrator or victim or wherever you want to put it. He was defending him and saying, yeah, he started carrying a gun because he got mugged or robbed, or the people that he's selling CDs for got robbed. So he defended him and gave a reason why he had a gun, but obviously also admitting that he did have a gun on him. So I definitely believe that he did have a gun. That's what was pulled. But also, I also looked up where it shows that the guy was shot in the chest, but also in the back. And if you watch the video, you see that the cops are on top of him and his back is on the ground. The only possible way that you could shoot the guy in the back if his back is on the ground is if you have a magic bullet or his back leaves the ground, which would be, constitute in any way that I can think of it resisting arrest and actually overpowering officers.
So you're saying it was justification?
I think justification is what the media uses to dig deep into the emotional outlash and outcry and reaction of people, as if that everything happens is justified. But there is a sense of natural consequence. Regardless of whether it's justified or not, it is done to resist the police in that manner. Like, you got tased and you're resisting. And then, after being tased, you're on the ground. They say you have a gun, you do have a gun. It is an illegal holding. It's illegal for you to have a gun because you have felonies.
That's an open carry state.
Yeah, but still, not a felon. A felon. I mean, you can't just have a gun as a felon, and it was concealed weapon too.
But at that time, they didn't identify him as a felon.
Well, what I'm saying is that let's say they didn't. Let's say they were wrong, right? You're going to the justification. What I'm saying is that if you are a criminal walking around doing something criminal, such as holding a weapon, right, and somebody identifies you as holding a weapon when somebody called the cops, like I said, 911, and you're resisting arrest, it's like, I may be an innocent person, and if you look at the dude's rap sheet, he has like at least 20 encounters over the last 20 years against the cops, and somehow he still lives. And the racially charged white cops want to kill black people all the time, but he survived for 20 years doing this. And, I mean, eventually, whether it's justified or not, it's going to happen.
So basically, you condone the extrajudicial behavior then?
No, that's the thing that's... Okay, so let me give it a metaphor to explain what I mean by how sometimes people get what they deserve. Like, you ever heard of The Boy Cried Wolf?
Of course.
Right. So there's a kid, obviously, that cries wolf, and there's no wolf there. He cries no wolf there. He cries wolf and there's no wolf there. But eventually there is a wolf, and the wolf obviously eats the sheep. Now, is it right for the sheep to be eaten? Is it right for the people who neglect the cry maybe not, right? But then there's a such reality of like if you cry wolf, or if you do have false accusations, or if you do have a reputation as a certain type of person, those have their consequences. So some like that dude, he actually was on the bubble for a while. I'm surprised that nothing happened to him.
I don't think
So,
that the
do
cops
you
ever have
believe
the
that?
right.
So let me ask you this: do you believe that a police officer has the right to be judge and jury at that moment, or
No.
as is stated in the law, everybody is entitled to due process? I mean, that's basically they denied this man due process. It was two officers who could have easily subdued this man or possibly diffused this situation, but instead somebody lost their life.
Wait, when you say easily diffused, would you say that it's easy to diffuse and easily apprehend somebody after you tase them and they still going? So that at that point, someone who's tased
They
still
they had
going.
him they had him down. I mean, you see his hands are free.
Well, I'm
Let's.
saying,
I guess my thing is this. Officers are here to serve and protect. Am I right or am I wrong?
you're right, but you skipped
And I mean,
over what you were saying earlier. But like, I think that
go
was
go
important.
go ahead. Let's go back. Let's make sure I don't miss anything
Because
here.
you said that he could easily like diffuse the situation. And I'm thinking like I seen the tape. They tased the dude and he still was going. Like I mean, regardless of justice or right and wrong, I would be scared if I tased somebody and they kept going myself. Like I'd be on flight or fight response immediately for sure because this dude could take the taser. And then they hold him down. He's got two of them, and then he also has a gun. The dude who took the taser, I find out he has a gun, and he lifts one of the officers up with his shoulder. You see his back. He lifts one of the dudes up, and then
But you got to consider you got two grown men on top of this guy. If that were I mean, that's just a natural reaction. I don't know how many interactions you've had. I don't know how many interactions you've had with the police.
I can guarantee you that anytime I'm in an altercation with the police, especially if there's a taser involved, there will be no question, without a shadow of a doubt, that this is police brutality. This was at least
Has that ever happened to you? Have you ever had interaction with the police in that manner?
not with a taser because I stopped it before I get to that, but I've had it to where I believe I had dealt with racist cops. And I'm like overly cautious because if you really, I mean, think about it. Like, if you believe that cops are racist and they want to execute all of us and they're coming for us, then how would you act around them? If you have, I mean, it's either you just go boom, just take them out quick without any type of thing, or you just comply. But if you kind of tether the line between like, oh, I'm gonna kind of resist and say you don't got right and stuff like that, and you're really just looking for an excuse to kill you, then you're kind of asking for your life to be taken. Not that it's justified, but you feel like it's really taken.
Okay.
No, I'm just gonna wrap it all up before we move to the next case. I feel like just using common sense, if someone's tased, the possibilities of them having enough strength to actually have the strength and mind state to reach for their gun and use it as a weapon is very low. I really want to know how he got shot in the back, but they never said if it was a ricochet bullet off the ground either. No one knows. We have to wait for an autopsy. So, I mean, I can understand your point that he was shot in the back when he was pinned down on his back. So how did that happen? But at the end of the day, I don't think the cops in that situation, until he makes a move for his weapon, should have even had their weapons in a position to use them as deadly force. I think too many cops rely on using their guns as a scare tactic, and they shouldn't. Their guns are there in the situation that they're needed, but a lot of times they're used as a scare tactic. They already have their guns well before they're needed, and that escalates up to the point where the guns are used and someone's killed. That's just my take on it. I don't see, unless there's a shootout situation like Dallas, for instance. At that point, he should be killed. He's already shooting. He's already showed you what his mind state is. So at that point, go ahead and he can shoot. But until it's at a point where you see a weapon, which I thought that's what the law was, if you can confirm he has a gun, you see them reach for the gun in a threatening way, then at that point, you can use it. But we'll see what as more information comes out. I don't want to speak out of turn. We'll see as more information comes out on what happens. But it's strange for me that these two killings actually affected me, and I'll go into that. I have a video I want to show later too. They affected me, and nothing really usually. I mean, you both know me very well. I'm usually a very laid back person that nothing really gets to me, and I even told you earlier that I think I need counseling because they bother me because they feel I don't want to. You're right. I don't want to say they were unjust because that is the media's take on it. But at the end of the day, they shouldn't have happened. These two people shouldn't be alive. I mean, shouldn't be dead at all. Actually, unless you want to get this guy for selling bootleg CDs, these two people shouldn't even be in jail for those crimes. Yes, he had a rap sheet. He was a convicted felon. I believe he was a sex offender as well. So yes, he had a rap sheet, and he probably did go to jail before for other things. But for this incident, he shouldn't even have been arrested, let alone killed. In my opinion. I mean, I just feel like that's how I feel about it. And moving on to the second one, with that being said, with the tail light incident, so I want to say his name right. I believe it's Philippe, maybe Felipe.
It's like, I think it's Philando
Castile.
Yeah, there you go.
But I want to definitely respect his name, and if I'm saying his name incorrectly, I apologize. But in his case, he was the passenger of a routine traffic stop. Now, I've been pulled over many times by cops where the passenger wasn't even asked anything, not to show ID, not for anything. And in this situation, he ended up losing his life because there was a miscommunication somewhere where the cop thought he may have been reaching for his gun. He was allegedly told to get his license out. And there was a miscommunication somewhere that led to him being shot 4 times in front of his 4-year-old, I believe, daughter and his girlfriend. And he lost his life. Now, I want to hear the guest again because I wanted you to, I think everyone knows me and Gene good enough to know our view on it and hear your analysis of that incident. And was it a little bit different than the Alton incident, or was it the same? You brought up the point earlier of complying, and from my understanding, from the evidence that we have, he was complying with an order. So how do you feel about that one?
Yeah, in that instance, I think that he was complying, and the cop shouldn't have shot him for any reason between them two. But I think the reason why the guy, I mean, honestly, this is a hunch, but after looking at a few things, and my experience personally with these type of situations, I actually blame the woman that he was with as the reason he got shot.
Do you think his race played a factor at all? That he is the reason that he got shot?
Oh, of course, it played a factor, but I think that the woman that he was with was acting all crazy. I think that she was the reason why things got out of hand. Like, she is the one antagonizing the police and creating the panic.
And what do you feel about that, G?
I disagree. I think that his hands were there in plain sight. Once again, I don't know. I just feel like there are better ways to handle this. If the policeman didn't feel comfortable, why not wait for backup? You know, there's a lot of things that could have been done to diffuse the situation again.
No, in this case, I think I need more evidence because the recording started after the fact, and it's not like the Alton one where you actually see the murder happen, or the shooting happen. That's not a murder yet by definition. But there's not enough evidence really out there on this case. But from my understanding, I do think that the cop panicked at the fact that he knew there was a gun in the car and maybe even forgot, due to his reaction, looking at the cops' reaction to everything, that he did order him to take on his ID, and immediately forgot that, oh man, I forgot that I told him to take on his ID, and he got him, he reacted in a way that he just had bad training. It's funny, I was saying this as a joke, but after I revisited the movie, I actually mean it. I think a lot of cops need to watch the movie Crash, because I think the movie Crash is what a lot of cops today is going through, where you're not. I think by saying that all these cops are racist that are committing these crimes is a mistake, because I don't think that all these cops are racist. I think they have maybe prejudices or beliefs and stereotypes of African American people, but I don't think that they're naturally racist. In the movie Crash, remember the cop was not racist, but he saw a black man reach and shot him, although he was just reaching for a religious I can't think of the word I want to use right now, but he shot him and killed him. And he wasn't a racist cop. He was actually being a friend to the guy. But because of his previous beliefs of African Americans and black people, he thought that he may have been reaching for a weapon, and he shot him. And I think that's what kind of happens a lot of times today, that these cops are not, they when you feel threatened, you go back to your primal instincts. You go back to your roots. Everything you worked hard not to be kind of comes back out. When you feel threatened or you're enraged about a situation, either one. And I think that's what's happening in these cases, where there's the false pretense and the stereotypes that these cops carry with them, even though they may suppress them and not feel this way. They come out when they feel threatened. When the cop knew there was a gun in the car and he saw him reach, although it was probably him reaching for his ID, the cop panicked and he shot him. And I think that just based off the reaction of the cop, he seemed very distraught afterwards when you hear the cop's audio, and he was still holding the gun toward him. So I don't think that a black cop would have reacted the same way, because he wouldn't have had those false stereotypes in his head. And that's my analysis of that situation. Moving on, I want to play a video for the shootings that happened yesterday in Dallas, where 5 cops lost their life as a response to these prior 2 shootings. The shooter was African American, and he was actually an Army veteran, 6 years in the armed forces. And I guess he just kind of felt enough is enough, and I'm going to play this video, and I'll come back to that.
What we're doing, right? We never had communication with police, and we're trying to start a whole new beginning by getting that dialogue and that communication. And the best thing you can do is seek for information and seek for communication, because you can't match hate with hate. You got to match hate with love, and that's what we came for today, in a love offering, to sit down and have some dialogue. Like the chief said, we were talking to him and hearing and listening and trying to find a better way to bridge the gap between us and them, because we all need
hearing and watching what happened to Alton Sterling, and then the very next day seeing another video that was just of catastrophic proportion. I was torn. Number one, as an African American, because I am African American, not because it's African Americans against the world. It's because I embody who I am, and that hurt me. That really, really hurt me. And my son asked me, why would, police do that to a man? And I had to answer. And I had to answer in a way where he would still trust and he would still believe in the police force. And I did. And that was my job as a parent. And I was torn.
So first and foremost, Anthony, I saw you smirk during that video. What was the smirk for?
First of all, Game has a very cool haircut.
So that's what you think about when you watch that video? I didn't notice his haircut. But
I didn't never
that's the
see
first thing I noticed. Not the
but
first time.
it was neat. I've never seen that before. But I don't know. I think everybody's jumping on the whole race thing. And I watched this video, and there was this guy who made the point that over the 4th of July weekend in Chicago, there was like over 60 black people shot and 4 dead. And there was no coverage on it. But you have one black life lost on either side of that, and those get national coverage. So it's almost as if to say that the black people who are killed by white people are more important than the black people who are killed by black people. I guess
But the assailants are brought to justice, whereas the police officers are usually acquitted.
They're usually not even charged, but
Exactly. They get paid administrative leave, and they're back on duty.
okay.
That's the difference.
Okay, so basically the idea is that because in these cases these people met justice, then, you know, that we shouldn't really talk about those ones. And in any case, the other 2 black lives who have not met justice, the other 2 who killed the black who did not meet justice, we still don't know if they won't meet justice.
I can tell you right now they're going to get acquitted.
But does that mean that they haven't met justice?
As far as what? The
As
fact that they lost their lives? So you're saying that a human life, because they didn't comply with the law enforcement, they deserve to lose their life. Is that what you're saying?
No. I'm saying if the cops get acquitted, if they get set free, does that mean that
When?
Okay, when? Does that mean that they escaped justice?
Well, what are the justices there?
legality point, yes.
They
Right.
walk away and they pretty much reassume their lives the way it was.
Wait a minute. Okay. So, they
Let's look
escaped.
at Freddie Gray. Basically, nobody was found guilty of killing Freddie Gray. Freddie Gray was just dead. So that's pretty much that's the end of that story. Let's move on. There are other examples of what I'm talking about here, but for the most part, you can tell me if there are more times where officers are convicted or acquitted. I've seen nothing but acquittals and not guilty verdicts more than I have actual convictions for these homicides that you see.
And what is it that you would expect to see, though?
I would expect to see, if you take the law into your own hands, having that extrajudicial behavior, that you should be found, guilty for it.
About what percentage of it?
I would have to get let me come back. Let me circle back to that. I'll get you a percentage.
Yeah, because the way that you were talking, it's almost as if you expect when a police officer and a civilian is in a dispute, if we had justice, then you would have the police officer to blame 50% of the time, and the civilian to blame the other 50% of the time.
It wouldn't even be a percentage. I mean, if it's justified, what do you consider justified? A guy, I don't know. I guess me and you have different views on that. I just feel like, a case like Freddie Gray, for instance, he was at fault for his own death, basically.
All right, so I am all for not letting people who are guilty escape justice.
But you're cool with police officers killing people for not complying, then?
No. I accept it, though. So, like, in other words, there are certain things that will happen that are bad that I don't necessarily approve of, but I accept that they will happen.
Yeah, like police officers getting off. That's why I'm just like, when they get off. And
Yeah.
that's all I meant by that.
I personally would rather have some criminals get off than to have innocent people punished. If I had to choose, like, obviously the ideal would be to have every single criminal caught and every single innocent person, like, let off. That would be the optimal. But in a world where you have to do a, give and take, which one would you rather have? which side would you want to lean on? I'd rather lean on the guilty person being set free, or the mercy, or like people kind of escaping the justice, more than people who are innocent being put under justice wrongly. I'd rather err on the side of caution for the government punishing innocent people than the other way around.
So, and we actually just did an example of it right now. And I got another video. It's actually a little bit longer than the videos I like to show on the show, but it really wrapped up how I woke up feeling today. Yesterday, on my way home from work, I was tailed by a police officer. And I've never in my life had the amount of fear that I had yesterday while this cop was telling me. Even when in my younger days, when I was riding around with illegal substances in my car, doing things I should not have been doing, I never had the fear that I felt yesterday while this cop was following me. And also, when I heard the news about the 5 police officers who lost their life this last night, it didn't hit me the same way that the news that the 2 African American lives that were taken away did. And I feel like, and I told you earlier, Gene, I feel like I'm broken. Something happened to me recently that changed my ideals on these things, because I've never felt this way. I would think in a logical, just looking at what happened world, 5 lives is greater than 2, and all lives matter, which is how I know I feel. But for some reason, and logically, that's still how I feel. But some reason, the emotion didn't spark up in me. And I was sitting earlier today, going through videos, watching people's reactions of the shootings, and I stumbled upon a video that I felt encapsulated the entire being of the way I'm feeling. And I want to play that video because it didn't have that many views, and I think a lot of people should play this video. And I want to get you guys' reactions, because I'm telling you now, as the way I feel is identical to every word this man says.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Kevin on stage, and I'm afraid I'll be killed by police. Not all police, just one police officer who fears for his life and thinks I have a gun. I'm afraid I'll match the description of someone who called 911, the police will arrive, and before I know it, I'll be dead. Not all cops are bad, but for me, all it takes is one who is afraid for his life, and that leaves me dead. He could have had a pristine record up until that, but if he's afraid that day, that means it's the end for me. He could have been a bad cop his whole entire career and not be afraid. That means the end for me. I used to think this wouldn't happen to me because I'm a law-abiding citizen. I won't ever be doing anything or be anywhere I shouldn't be. I'll comply with officers, but that doesn't always seem to be the case. Here's some examples of what black people were doing when they were killed by police. Selling CDs outside of a supermarket, selling cigarettes outside of a corner store, walking home with a friend, missing a front license plate, riding a commuter train, holding a fake gun in a park in Ohio, holding a fake gun in a Walmart in Ohio, holding a fake gun in Virginia, calling for help after a car accident, driving with a broken brake light, failing to signal a lane change, walking away from police, walking toward police, running to the bathroom in your apartment building, walking up the stairwell of your apartment building, sitting in your car before your bachelor party, holding your wallet, not wearing a seatbelt in police custody, attending a birthday party, laughing. The thing that makes me most afraid is I'll be afraid. I don't know what I'll do if a police officer has a gun pointed at me and is shouting instruction. I'm afraid I'll move too fast, too slow, not fast enough. I'll reach for something he asked me to reach for, and he'll think it's a gun. I'm afraid I won't be calm, and me not being calm could be the end of me. I'm afraid that I can die in front of my wife or children or both. I'm afraid my children will be somewhere without me and suffer the same fate. I'm afraid the police officer will be in plain clothing, so they won't even recognize that this is a police officer, and they don't respect him and treat him like the authority he is because they don't know he is. And here's what's going to happen if I die. People will comment on a post about me, and here's what they'll say. If he would have just done this, he would be alive today. If he would have just done that, he'd be alive today. All you have to do is listen to police, and you'll be fine. If he would have just listened to the officer's orders, he'd be here today. If you care so much, why don't you care about what's happening in Chicago? What about black-on-black crime? Don't you care about that? The media will find the worst picture of me to use, and since I don't have any brushes with the law or mugshots, they'll find the most menacing or intimidating photo they can use. They won't use any of my wife or children or my family because that doesn't tell the story that they want to tell. Tammy Lauren will get on TV and tell them it was my fault, or Glenn Beck or Sean Hannity or Rush Limbaugh will get on the radio. Fox News will have a field day with me. They'll say we don't have all the facts. The video doesn't clearly show. You don't know. What if he was? It looked like he was. You can't tell clearly. We can't see what's in his right hand or left hand. You don't know what the officers were feeling. The NRA won't protect me or protest my death, even if I say I'm a licensed gun owner and I tell the police officer that when he pulls me over. The video will be posted all over the internet in a matter of seconds, and whether or not you want to see it, you will see my dead body lying on the ground, or a video of an officer shooting me, or me dying live on Facebook. And then people will say it's not about race, we're all one people, all lives matter, and then life will go on. That's the scariest thing. After a while, life will go on. The officers may or may not get arrested. More than likely, they won't be convicted. More than likely, they won't even be indicted. And before you can totally mourn my death, it'll happen again. That's why I'm afraid.
Young nigga, preach. Preach, preach, preach. Every word. Shout out to Kev on stage for that video too. Every word that he said, I felt. And it kind of made me realize the logic of my own thinking these days. And at the end of the day, the reason that I didn't feel as bad for the 5 cops, and the reason I felt like I was, like I did yesterday, was simply because I was afraid. I'm afraid I will be killed by a cop. I really fear that are going to kill me for no reason. And it bothers me. And I think that's why these recent things bother me. Simply because I really feel that way. I feel like a cop could kill me any day. How do y'all feel about after watching the video?
I think that video all over was just a big load of propaganda. It was 100% propaganda. It was just like the same regurgitated nonsense that I've been hearing about from this movement or whatever, one that has like nothing to it. They keep telling this story, and then when the story is corrected, they say the story again. Oh, he just had a hoodie on, and just like that. Like stuff that's been corrected like way back, and we found out, oh, this isn't the whole truth. I actually saw a video where the girl, somebody was addressing the second shooting, the one with Philando Castile or whatever, and she was saying, oh, they want to kill us, and then somebody was talking about the video and was like, we got, white people be doing this to us. Like just within that one response removed from the video, the story was changed to support the narrative that we've been saying, because it wasn't a white dude, it was a Chinese guy. But at that point, it doesn't matter because it gets categorized into the propaganda that we've built, and even though it's not all factual, we just keep regurgitating it over and over again as if it's real.
Real talk, those police officers did not deserve to die. That guy was a fucking coward, and if there was any kind of movement, a peaceful movement, he totally detracted from what they were trying to do. There was no reason whatsoever to kill a bunch of officers that had nothing to do with the tragedies that were experienced over the past couple of days. That should never have happened.
I think
that is just disgusting, and that man, he's where he needs to be, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, we can't, see, this is the thing, you can't pretend like this is disassociated from the propaganda pieces that have been putting out. Like that, of course this is going to happen. Of course you're going to get somebody who gets really wrapped up into this cause and says, yeah, they're after us, and we need to do something about it. And since there's never an actual solution, now this is the funny thing about it, since there's never an actual solution, it's like some people are going to take matters into their own hands. The irony is that Barack Obama was like the black savior, but nobody's listening to him when he suggests what we should do about this. Barack Obama's solution to this stuff is, I think, ironclad and a full orb solution to this problem. And he said he got a couple places and states to develop task forces between the civil rights people and the police force, and all this. They come together and they communicate with what way this and this is supposed to work with procedures and protocol. And he's saying it's been doing wonders, but nobody's really doing that. And we're all like, something has to happen. Well, the black savior had already told us what to do, and not that many people are listening to him. And I'm not even a Barack Obama supporter, but I think that he has a fine solution, and he seems to be being ignored now, and I don't know why.
Well, it's kind of like you said, though. His method has been tried, and it's like going back to the video. One thing that he said is, we're all going to talk about it, we're going to get upset about it, and then life's going to go on, and then it's going to happen again. And that's why I think people are kind of at the point where they're like, man, Barack, I hear you.
Yes.
I wish that would work.
But will that happen? Is that what happens if you listen to Barack Obama?
Yeah, same thing happens. It's never going to stop.
Wait. So basically, but this is the irony. Why is Obama so great for the black community that if you listen to what he says, nothing happens?
I mean, I love LeBron James too, but I can't play basketball like him. I can tell me all the things he wants to do and how I should play basketball, but I can't play basketball like him. And I would say that he's one of my biggest role models right now, for his accolades on and off the court. So I mean, I hear Barack Obama. I hear the words he's saying, and for most men, that is what most men are doing. But at the same time, the ones who act out, I think it's because they've heard enough. I mean, the guy who did the shootings in Dallas had been to Afghanistan. So and this was something that I thought was very eye-opening when I thought about it. The guy who did the shootings in Dallas had been to Afghanistan. So you tell this man to go to Afghanistan to protect his people by killing other people. And then he comes back, and what he feels to protect his people, which was an order from the government at one time in Afghanistan, he felt to protect his people, he needs to kill other people. And it makes me kind of empathize, not sympathize. I have no sympathy for him, but I have empathy for him because I understand that, wait a minute, your government just told you to go do the same thing for American people, but now when you're talking about black American people, you're not supposed to do it. So it's kind of ironic in a sense. Also, if I kill somebody, and I live in a corporal punishment state, when I go to jail, I am killed. An eye for an eye, just like the Bible says. And if I go to if I live in a corporal punishment state and I commit a murder, I am then murdered. So when a person lashes out and commits murders as an answer to murder, he had an ideal that I can empathize with. Did he hit the right people? No. He could have killed 5 people who could have single-handedly stopped the police violence. We don't know. We don't know what those cops, what kind of people they were. They were random cops that were shot. So at that point, I completely disagree with what he did. He made a mistake.
Isn't that the problem on both sides, though? That they feel like both sides are impassioned, that feel that something needs to be done. These crazy black people, they need to be put in line, right? And then the other side's like, oh, these crazy cops, they need to be put in line. But no one's wrath, no one's justice falls on the right person. I think that's exactly what the problem is. And that people are so craved to find a scapegoat or someone to punish, and they're not willing to wait, not even if Barack Obama says to wait, that they're willing to just spray the wrath everywhere and just hopefully hit something that works.
So when I was in school for criminal justice, one thing we had to learn about was the code of blue. And what that is a code between police officers to pretty much never rat out or get another police officer in trouble. So, and most judges are retired police officers who still stick by this code of blue. And at that point, because of that code, and I would say corruption of our judicial system, the weighting aspect of justice is not important. It doesn't matter because we know at the end of the day what the results of these cases are going to be. One of the only cases that came close to hitting me the way this one did was a Tamir Rice case, because I seen that video, watched that video, I'm going to say 50 to 75 times from different angles and from different videos and viewpoints, and read everyone's opinions, and I could not justify a 12-year-old kid being killed in a park with a toy gun. There was no justification, and I will use just matter because he was a kid. And that's why the judicial system, that's why people can't wait. Also, you can't say it's okay to do this, but it's not okay to do that. I mean, you can't do that. You can't tell a soldier it's okay to fight for what you believe in, stand up for your country and your people, and then turn around and tell that same soldier who could have died in Afghanistan for that cause that it's not okay to stand up and fight for your people and what you believe in. It creates a conundrum that I think that he just couldn't deal with, because that's how he was programmed, and that's why I could empathize with his actions in that regard, only in that regard.
Well,
But going back to
yeah,
the whole thing,
I think that he was
you're
disobedient to
breaking
you.
you're breaking up a little bit. Go ahead and repeat yourself.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah, he wasn't in touch that he was just a puppet or a mercenary for the government to use for its own disposal. That's what he didn't come to terms with.
Or maybe he did come to terms with that and said that I'm going to do what the government programmed me to do, and that's to fight for what I believe in and protect my people.
If the government demeans you like that, why would you get the government back by doing what they demeaned you as? You turn around and say, I'm not going to do that anymore because I'm above that.
I mean, we don't know his mind state. We don't know what he was thinking. That was just my idea of what he may not have been thinking or doing at that time. It just made the most logical sense to me. But I could be 100% wrong. We don't know. He's gone. We'll never know. Going back to that, I do have a question. I'm going to use it as a segue to one more thing that I want to touch on before the end of the show. And this is more for you, Anthony. Do you believe that any of these things would have been happened if the races involved would have been the opposite?
I think that the person who was in the passenger side, as long as that woman was next to him acting like that, they would have got shot no matter what. Because I think that the woman was the cause.
What if it was a white woman, though? I mean, if every race involved was different, was the opposite?
If the woman color was different, that might have affected it. But no matter, I'm saying, like, if you keep everything, like the person who's the victim, black, white, whatever, if that same exact woman was in the car, it would be a problem. If the woman was a different color, I don't know, maybe that would be different. Because there is a kind of tendency to look at white women with rose-colored glasses as if they are angels that can do no harm.
Well, that goes to what I believe we would consider as white privilege, from a social standpoint. And I'm someone who, I think white privilege is shrunken, kind of. I think the gap between being black and having white privilege has shrunken, as you guys heard last week. But I do think it still exists. And with that being said, one thing that you brought up to me that you wanted to speak about was the Stanford trial and the verdict of the 6 months that you feel at some in some aspects shouldn't have happened. He shouldn't have been convicted, or I wanted you to elaborate on what you felt about that, and I want you to really tell me how white privilege did not play a part.
Okay, so reason that white privilege may exist, but vagina privilege is tantamount to that by 100-fold. I actually was just watching. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I watched. Have you ever seen the show What Would You Do?
Yeah, I did.
All right, so there was an episode where the people were robbing a bike, and they had a white guy stealing a bike in the park, and 1 out of 100 stopped, to try to stop him from stealing the bike. But when they brought the black guy, it was like, it was crazy. It was like 15, 30 stopped to try to stop him. He's, oh, you're stealing the bike, right? But when they brought the white woman, people helped her steal the bike. Multiple men, and all men, only men, helped her steal the bike. And so, in my experience, and anything that white people have done against me, women have done 100 times more the damage to my life. And I've seen more men taken down by women. And the Bible has been taken down by women. It is the ultimate enemy of men that have never figured out how to control the thing in between their legs and stop letting them decide on who they associate themselves with and what they do with women. And in this case, the same thing with the Stanford rapist, or quote-unquote rapist, happened there. He did let his stuff get out of control, but that girl's testimony revealed a few things that I think were brushed over just for, like she said, she cried so much. From crying, her eyes were puffed up so much that she had to put spoons in the freezer and pull them out so that they can, the column was filling down in her eyes so that she can see again. And this is from being fingered.
But so you think he shouldn't have been charged at all, or was the 6 months the right amount of time, or how? What do you feel about the whole outcome of the case?
I honestly think that 6 months is good enough. I think that he got out a lot worse than her. His reputation is ruined. He has to register. His name is just gone. His name's out there. No one knows her name. He's a sex offender. He has to register as a sex offender. He has a bright future that's ruined. All that. And she gets to, kind of walk away. And, oh yeah, she has to live with the shame that she was fingered by this dude who apparently she didn't want to get fingered by.
Now, Gene, I know you got some views on that whole thing. Do you agree with anything he said? Some of what he said, none of what he said? How do you feel about that?
Well, basically, they caught him in the act. From what I've read, they caught him in the act of doing this. Can we all agree on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Basically, if no means no. I think a female's body, if that was my sister, if that was my mom, if that was my daughter, I'd be pretty upset about it. And that's kind of how I look at it as a parent. I would definitely be upset about it, and I don't feel that 6 months is enough time. And the judge showing compassion for this guy who's convicted of doing this. What?
Anthony just did the same thing. Said that it was because of the power of her pussy, pretty much, is what made him do what he did. So, and his life is more ruined than
okay.
hers.
Well, let's look. Just like Anthony said, what if he had just held control, just like the police, or just like those victims, if they had complied with the police, this wouldn't have happened. If he had self-control, this wouldn't have happened. So, it's kind of the same thing. It's along the same lines. You have choices. You made choices. This guy made a choice, and that's what he has to live with. He could have easily walked away from that situation.
I think you're assuming something happened that I'm not assuming. You said he should have had self-control. Well, he only needs self-control because it's stupid to mess with whores, and they ruin your life. He doesn't need self-control to not rape her because he did not rape her. I don't believe that he raped her. I believe she was consensual and she got
Well,
embarrassed.
why was he convicted then?
Because of her story. Did you read her statement? Her statement was just so, like I told you, like she said that she was like, I cried, I had to go to work an hour late because I just cried myself every day. And then she had this little quaint story. She was like, yeah, that day, you know, it was my last day with my sister, who at the time she's 22 and this is her little sister, right? So her little sister and her are going to a frat party, right? And there's alcohol there. Now, why would you go to a frat party instead of to a bar to drink? Well, probably because your little sister's underage and you're bringing her there. And that they never got into that part of it, which I almost guarantee you is the fact. And she was like, well, I was out of touch because, you know, I haven't been to school in so long, so I had to wear my cardigan, and I was doing my little silly dances because I was out of touch with the drinking ages that I used to. But I was going to stay stay at home, just eat dinner and read, so I could get up to school early, and go to work and stuff like that. Like, she was responsible. She never goes out. And I was like, come on, dude. And so this girl who wears cardigans, out of touch with drinking, never goes out and parties, goes to a frat party, and with her underage sister, gets so drunk that she can't take care of herself, let alone her sister, and gets caught behind the and leaves a voicemail for her boyfriend, where she's like mad drunk and her boyfriend's like bugging out. It's just, this is more likely a whore who got caught publicly being a whore who didn't want to live with the shame, so she decided to throw the dude under the bus.
I want you to respond, Jay.
I don't even know how to respond to that, to be honest. I don't even know what to say. I got nothing really.
Well, I mean, and I'll give you my final take on it. I do think that she was raped, sexually assaulted, whatever you want to talk and call it, but there was a crime committed, and I do think that white privilege played a huge part in it. Because if it was any one of us three who that was, we'd be doing 15 years for fingering her or whatever happened then. So I do think that race did play a part of it. I do think the fact that the Stanford thing and who his father was played a big part in what was going on. And I think that when a girl's womanhood is taken from her, that's something that scars. I've met women who've been raped, and I know it's something that scars them for life when they feel violated like that. It's something that never goes away, something that can be triggered. It makes it hard for them to have normal relationships with men for the rest of their life. So in 6 months he'll be back out doing whatever he wants to do at more frat parties, but her whole life she's gonna, every time she sits down to have a drink, or every time she goes on a date with a man, it's gonna flash in her head. And I think that the 6 months was white privilege. I think that the judicial system agrees with me, because he was actually assigned to another rape case and then immediately removed because a lot of the judicial system did not agree with his ruling on that case. So obviously the justice system did not think that justice was served, but they cannot veto what he said because he was a judge. And it would have been interesting if he was black, what would have happened, or the judge was any normal human being who did not become starstruck or race struck by the offender and his father. That's my view on it. That's how I feel that that whole thing played down. I can't say that a girl who wears leggings or a skirt, has her boobs out, and smoking a blunt, drinking all night at a club party, whatever you call it, is asking to be raped or violated against her will just based on what she's wearing. She may feel good that night. She may be trying to escape something else, but it doesn't mean she's asking to be raped nonetheless.
She is asking to lead you on.
There's no law against leading on. I mean, you go to a club, that's what women do the whole time. women go to clubs to lead men on. There's a lot of women in relationships who get all dialed up to go to a club with zero intention of bringing a man home that night.
I agree that that doesn't give you justification to even have sex with them, but I'm just showing you the nature of the women who do that. The nature of the women who dress provocatively is that they are snares to men. They are untrusted. They are not to be trusted. They are scandalous. They are whores. They are destroy everything that you have, like to live for. Just don't mess with them. Just stay away, because all they're about is that.
I can't. You know what I mean? That's for the people that everyone watching. Please, I've seen a lot of viewers today, so I'm guessing word definitely wants to spread around. Viewers, please leave comments on the bottom. Let me know how you feel. It's about that time. It's about that time. Gene, I'm gonna let you say the last word, say before we wrap up and close out.
Hey, I feel like every human life is valuable, whether it's law enforcement, whether it's civilians, whether they're criminal or not criminal. You know, we're neither judge nor jury here. I feel that we should all be more compassionate about one another, and no life or no person should be treated any different than anybody else. And we should be more in tune with trying to help and raise each other up, as opposed to tearing each other down or passing judgment on people. And that's pretty much all I got.
All right, everybody, say what you feel. See y'all next week, same time ish. And everybody have a good night. Make sure you fight hate with love, not hate with hate. And I'll talk to y'all next week. We out. Peace.